joining us, America. We're glad you're here. Open phones at 888-825-5225. Tony in Madison, Wisconsin. Welcome to the Dave Ramsey Show.
Hi, Dave. How are you?
Better than I deserve. What's up?
Thanks for taking my call. I have a potentially simple question for you. I've read your book on how to get out of debt, and I'm actually debt-free now as of the beginning of the summer. I don't have a house, so I don't have that debt quite yet. But I've run into the problem of actually having money to spend, and I am beginning to try to invest it, and I'm not sure about how to do that, so I've decided to look into a financial advisor. I've looked into one of your ELPs and been contacted by them, and my fiance's father is also a financial advisor, so I'm kind of torn between should I kind of mix family and money, even though this isn't really the same way as you've described borrowing and lending with family, or should I stick with my own financial advisor, even though obviously once I am married, the finances will be kind of joint and her father will know and all that kind of stuff. So what is your opinion on using a father-in-law as a financial advisor?
I think it would be fine as long as a couple of things occur, and those will be very tricky, which will probably make it not fine. Okay? Number one is, if he were to disagree with what you wanted to do with your money, what is that going to look like? With a normal financial advisor, their job is to be a teacher, not a salesman. And their job is to be a teacher, not a father-in-law. In other words, if there's 1 ounce of control issue here, you can't use him because he will interfere in your marriage. You see what I'm saying?
Yep. And so far, just his personality and the way he is, he's definitely not that kind of...
Okay. So if he's a real affable guy and is going to be okay with you doing some things that he doesn't agree with, given that it involves his daughter with money, and given that he has some principles or some things he believes, an example would be if he sells cash value insurance and you don't think that's a good idea. Is that going to bring stress in every time you're together? Or is that going to bring a conflict into this situation? Where with an arm's length transaction that wasn't family, you would just say, I don't buy that stuff, never bring it up again. And they would say, well, and then you'd be going, well, I don't know if I can use you or not if you're going to be bringing me crap, okay? But with father-in-law, you've got to maintain that. So that's the main issue here. If he's a real affable person, real easy to get along with, is not going to be the type that interferes, is not going to send his wife to your to her daughter, your wife, to try to interfere in your all's financial plan because he didn't get his way with you, that kind of crap. You see what I'm saying? If you get all that barrel of fish hooks all tangled up, it ain't worth it. You're better off hurt his feelings on the front end, and move on and do it with somebody else. But if he's an affable guy that has the heart of a teacher and just is going to respect your all's adulthood from a family boundaries standpoint, and you want to use him, then yes, he's definitely going to have your best interest at heart, and he definitely would care deeply about the outcome, or he should. So I'm not opposed to using family just because they're family. It's all the toxicity that you've got to remove from it. I'll give you a side example of that, okay? A little different, but it still makes the same point. Some of the best advice I got about my daughter Rachel coming to work here was from a lady who's a really, really well-known speaker. And I talked to her and her husband, and her husband suggested to me that the problem with Rachel coming to work here was not Rachel. The problem might be that as my daughter's boss and her dad, that I might interfere in her husband's place. I might take away his manhood if I wasn't really careful. Because she would look to me for all decisions instead of to look to her husband. You see what I'm saying? And so I've had to be very, very careful with Winston working here. And he's a studly young guy, man. But, I mean, I have to be very careful and to be very conscious to let them have their household decisions and me not even wrinkle an eyebrow you know? Because otherwise I'm her boss and her dad, and it's very hard for her new husband to take his place as the man of her life. Do you see what I'm saying?
Yeah, I definitely.
And
definitely see that.
This has got a little bit of that in it. Probably not as bad as Winston and Rachel working here, this deal you're talking about, but it has a little of that in it. If he's going to come in and try to interfere and be the man, so to speak, in this situation, if there's 1 ounce of that, go somewhere else. For the sake of your marriage. But if he can respect your opinions, your wife and you are going to make independent decisions and have good boundaries, I think he'll come out with your best interest at heart. So you guys have just got to, and I would have that conversation on the table. I would say, this is the downside of us working together. There's a lot of upsides, that you're going to look after us and you're going to really care about us more than anybody else probably would. But the downside is the boundary issue, and we've got to talk about that up front. So that's probably too much on that, but better to deal with it while heads are all cool than later on when he presents some product that you don't think you want to buy.
Definitely, that makes sense. I have one quick question regarding that as well, though.
Okay.
So he's kind of close to retiring, and once he retires, I don't know what typical financial planners do when they retire. Do they hand off their clients to...
Typically, most of them are product-driven, meaning they sell stuff like mutual funds and that kind of a thing, or they're fee-based. And in most cases, they have what's called a book of business, which is their list of clients that pay them money. Okay? And that book of business is either then sold or handed off to a junior partner or a series of junior partners in the firm to take it over and run with it. And you're under no obligation to stay with that person if you're not comfortable with them at that point.
Okay, that's what I want to know. All right, that sounds good.
And so you could move off to an ELP or you could move off to whoever at that point and not have any issue. Interesting discussion. Hey, thanks for the call. A lot of people face this with family. So let me say out loud again, because that brings up an interesting point what Tony was saying. I am not saying never work with family. I have never said that. And I've never said never do money stuff with family. It just raises a whole new level of possible booby traps that you could step in and snap, there goes your leg, right, in your family. So you've just got to really say, got to be lots of clarity, lots of blunt communication, that kind of thing, in order to get there. And so you've got to just be very, 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 very clear with family. And what happens is, though, is that Junior just assumes he doesn't have to work because he works for Dad. And so he's a half-butt, you know? It's okay for him to smoke pot in the shipping room, you know? And it's okay because he's Junior and he can get away with it. That's those assumptions that you don't have to pull your weight like everyone else is where family business gets messed up. And the same thing, anytime where someone makes an assumption because they're family, it makes it okay for them to step over the line on something, then that's where you get into issues. But family can work together. The best businesses in America are family businesses. I'll say it again. For those of you that are publicly traded companies, just be offended if you want. The best businesses in America are family businesses. The exceptions would be someone in publicly traded realm that chose to run their company with family-type values. And there are some of those. And there's certainly plenty of idiots that run family businesses as well. But this idea that family business is a bad thing is not true. It's got a better success ratio than corporate publicly traded stuff does. As far as what's alive 50 years from today, family business or publicly traded? More often, statistically, it's a family business. So it's not bad to work with family. You just have to deal with all the possible minds in the minefield with lots of clarity. This is the Dave Ramsey Show. There's a reason you're seeing so many for sale sites.